Hello, hello, my fellow sensitive people. So this is a really complicated remote. I was wary to do it, but once I do it, I'm going to be over with it, and then we won't have to do it ever again. So this is a remote on Vladmir Putin and seeing into the mind of Vladimir Putin. It is an incredibly unusual world you're about to enter right now. All right, so the first time that I attempted to, I did my meditation, I got into a very relaxed state, and it was kind of interesting. The first thing I saw the lights of Moscow, and it was beautiful. I saw Moscow, and I saw Moscow at night, and the lights of Moscow shining on the rest of the world. And so this is the way that Putin sees Moscow. He sees Moscow as the redeemer of the world, that the lights of Moscow will shine on the world, and that the sun will never set on the Kremlin. The sun will never set on Russia. This is the true destiny of Russia. The true destiny of Russia is that the sun will never set on Mother Russia. And he believes that the true church, the holy church that will govern the world, the true destiny of the church of Russia is to bring a light to the rest of the world. So the lights of Moscow will be a light to the rest of the world, bearing the torch of the true church, which is the Russian Orthodox Church, but a specific sect, an ultra-Orthodox version of the church. And Putin believes that he is the prophesied person that will save Russia and bring the light of Russia to the rest of the world. And so in his small community of believers of this extreme version of Russian Orthodoxy, he perceives of himself as the prophecy. He's the chosen one who is destined to bring the lights of Russia to the rest of the world. It's his destiny, and it is the destiny of Russia and the true church to do this. So that is the first vision. The second vision I saw was trade routes, and that is really important for people watching this channel who want to understand Putin. You have to understand trade routes and trade partners. And so I am going to be showing you photographs of maps or images of maps so that you can understand the trade routes that we're talking about. And these trade routes go back hundreds and even thousands of years. And if you're looking at Russia, Russia has two areas that they are attempting to get their trade out. One is through the Caspian Sea, and the other is through the Black Sea. Now, the trade partners traditionally that Russia has had in the area is predominantly Iran, and it's been trading on the Caspian Sea with Iran for some time. This is why Russia is an ally of Iran and Syria, because of trade. Now, America, our ally in the area, is Saudi Arabia and Israel. So if you're looking at the map, you can see that no man's land is Syria. And what Putin is trying to do is he's trying to create oligarchs all over the world. He's trying to prop up governments all over the world that will allow the lights of Moscow to shine on the world 24 hours a day. Now, what has happened between the United States and Russia with the Cold War is that we are trying to block each other's trade routes, and we've been pretty good about blocking Russia's trade routes. And this is a source of incredible frustration and anger for Vladimir Putin, because he just wants to get his trade out. One of the areas that we blocked, I'll give you an example of one of the areas of frustration for Putin. The Magnitsky Act, when we blocked trade, we all know about that. They retaliated with stopping Russian adoption, Americans adopting Russians. Everybody knows about that. But there are other things that Americans don't know about. For example, Putin was negotiating a deal with Libya to build a train system starting in Tripoli that would go into Africa. Because I got the hit, I did the remote, and then I started to Google, like, what am I seeing? So he had a relationship with Libya. It was a multi-billion-dollar contract, and he was going to be able to begin building in Tripoli, and then that was going to allow him to also open trade from Tripoli all the way into Africa. And it would have been good for Africa because Africa desperately needs infrastructure. Obama bombed Tripoli, and we took out Putin's trade person in Libya. We took out we basically destroyed the Libyan government. And this was we were heavily pressured to do that by Saudi Arabia, our ally in the area, because the Saudi Arabians have been at war, the Shia and the Sunni have been at war for, I think, since the 6th or 7th century. This is how long the Saudis, who are the keepers of Sunni Islam and the Kabul in Mecca, they have been the keepers and the protectors of Sunni Islam. And the Shia are the protectors in Iran. The Persians are the protectors of Shia. So they have been at war for over 1,000 years. We sided, when it came to trade routes, with the Sunnis, and Russia sided with the Shia and with Syria. Again, because it was practical and they just wanted to get their trade out. So one of those trade routes goes all the way to Iran from the Caspian Sea, and from there into Afghanistan. And from Afghanistan, there's a couple ways they get into Afghanistan. From Afghanistan, they have open border with China. They also have an open border with China through Mongolia. These are ancient trade routes. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to block the trade. Whether it's trade and moving into Afghanistan, parts of Mongolia. If you continue to look at the picture, you'll also see with the Chechen rebels, those are funded by Saudi Arabia, so he couldn't get trade out of Georgia. So what was happening was that people were ambushing his vehicles, his convoys. They were getting ambushed by Chechen rebels funded by the Saudi Arabians. This is why Putin hates us. So it all goes back to trade. Every time I meditate on Putin, it's about trade. So Michael Flynn, I'll do a whole remote on him. He was fired for a couple of things. As I had said, I had done a remote and I'd found out that under Obama, the intelligence agency had intercepted communication between Michael Flynn and various different foreign governments, bad actors, and that is how they found out that Flynn had been compromised, and that is why he was removed from his job under Obama. And then they continued to monitor the situation, intercepting phone calls between various different people, trying to find out who was a Russian intelligence operative inside the Pentagon Homeland Security, which is the bigger investigation that is not public information. So what Putin has started to do is he started to do cyber wars, and these cyber wars are going to tackle every vulnerable country that does not have good cyber security. Some of the countries that he instilled his own government and he engaged in cyber war was Turkey, and he instilled Erdogan. Now, Flynn was working for the Turkish government, the pro-Russian Turkish government. Turkey fell after World War I. They lost the Ottoman Empire. The Brits came in and took Palestine, which became a whole other mess. But what we need to know about Turkey is that Russia wanted Turkey. And so Russia installed Erdogan, and then he was able to maintain trade with Turkey. Now, what Americans also don't know is that Russia was building a pipeline under the Black Sea, and he was going to pipe oil to Turkey, and he succeeded in doing that. I'll show you the article. And now the pipeline is going to be flowing from Russia to Turkey, and from Turkey to, you guessed it, those countries that collapsed because they didn't have good cybersecurity, because the Russians went in and collapsed their governments and installed oligarchs. Basically, Putin's goal is to have oligarchs all over the world. So Turkey now, through Turkish Stream, That's the name of the company. Turkish Stream will be delivering oil to Hungary. He collapsed the Hungarian government. Greece, he encouraged the collapse of Greece by breaking up the EU, because the EU was an economic disaster that was putting a lot of pressure on Russia, collapsing NATO. He also helped install somebody in Poland. So the oligarchs who are behind Putin are Poland, Hungary, Turkey, now pushing to get fascists into Greece, and he's trying to rip apart France, Germany, Spain, and Britain with Brexit. The Brexit, I think it was started by 6 people. They got 6 seats in Parliament in Britain, and the money is now being linked to Putin. So the purpose was, again, to break up the EU. It was very clever. They started with hitting the more vulnerable countries, economically vulnerable, and now once those collapsed, they're now going for the big guns. The big guns, which are France, Germany. And then he also instilled an oligarch in the United States, which was Donald Trump. Now, when I do a remote on Donald Trump, I had thought, oh, Donald Trump is compromised. This is the public story. He got compromised in 1987. But when I got into Donald Trump's energy during a remote, the answer I got back from Donald Trump was, oh no, I've been dealing with Russians. I was first introduced to Russians when I went to business meetings with my father. So when Trump was very, very young, he accompanied his father on business meetings, and at that point he was compromised. Now, I want to say a little bit about the relationship with Vladmir Putin and Donald Trump. It's like a love affair energetically. It feels like a love affair in the sense that it's a love affair between almost like a pimp and a prostitute, in the sense that what a pimp will do is they will groom a person who is the victim of child abuse or neglect, a weak person, a person who's weak-minded, a person that may have suffered from abuse, and groomed them and loved them and nurtured them and gave them what they thought they wanted, and then you have to do something for me. So what happened was that Putin gave Trump everything he wanted. He was laundering money out of Deutsche Bank. I think Trump was linked to $500 million. Now they've subpoenaed those documents. AEB Bank, which was sanctioned. But the oligarchs were buying up a lot of Trump property in Central America. They're very interested in the financial sector in New York. They want to have a little Putin Island in the financial district in New York. He's also begun to topple Brazil, I think, and parts of South America. Anywhere, Venezuela I think the United States were responsible for Venezuela. If you read books like Confessions of an Economic Hitman, this is something the Americans have done as well. We go into countries and we collapse their economics so that they can't do trade with Russia. So they were coming in, the Russians were, and they were collapsing trade in the West. So that's basically my remote. He feels that he is the future prophesied Tsar of Russia. He thinks the collapse of the Soviet Union was the biggest mistake that ever happened. And he feels it is his destiny to lead the future of Russia, to be the shining city on the hill that will shine its light upon the rest of us. And this is what's so terrifying about it. So I just want to briefly also say that when you do a remote and you look at cyber attacks coming in from other countries, he's gotten into our power grid. As much of a malignant narcissist as Putin is, and I think that he truly is a malignant narcissist, he likes war that doesn't kill people and destroy the planet and leave a lot of waste and destruction. The thing that he likes about these cyber wars is that he can topple countries and get what he wants in terms of trade routes, like what he did with Turkish Stream, without killing anybody. And so he finds killing people distasteful. He'd rather avoid it. It's not that he feels particularly bad about it, because he's a true believer and he truly believes that he is fulfilling the destiny of the Russian Orthodox Church. It's just that it's messy and he would rather do it this way. The love affair between him and Trump, like I said, this is more than just Trump being compromised. It feels as if he is truly a devotee, and that is a disturbing fact that I'm starting to come to as I do remotes. That I find the most disturbing part of being a remote viewer. He truly is devoted to Russia. So this is not just a compromised person. This is someone who truly has given his loyalty to the Kremlin, and that would make him a Russian operative. If there's anything more I would say about this, the feeling that Putin has is that by the time you see this and know this to be true, it will be too late. He will have taken Brazil, Hungary, Poland, France, Germany, Great Britain, the United States, and by the time we realize what he has done, it will be too late. So this is the scary truth of the remote viewing. And he has made his way deep, deep, deep into our intelligence agencies, hacking our power grids and other areas that are under security. The Mueller investigation is the tip of the iceberg, and this is the scary situation we find ourselves in right now. So we have to pray that the good people of our intelligence agencies can do what they have to do to get out of this. But it's a very scary time right now that we are living in world history, and this is the remote. So thank you for watching this remote, and I hope to do future remotes for you. Thanks for watching. Bye.